For some people, every day is Halloween. We're taking a quick peek at Halloween Forever. Halloween Forever is a 2D pixelated platformer developed by Peter Lazarski. It's the first game he's released on Steam using the imaginary monster's name, with all previous projects connected to other companies or released for free. Previously, Lazarski had worked with a company called Workin' Man on titles such as Dead State, a roguelike bullet-hell twin-stick shooter released in 2015. He'd also made a game called Lich Lords for the Ludum Dare 31 Game Jam in 2014. That was the same competition that had the original version of Carrots and Blood that I looked at a little while ago, as well as my game, if you want to call it that, but I digress. Halloween Forever itself began development in 2014. It was originally a short game available on itch.io, a marketplace for hosting indie games where the developers have complete control over their projects. The original version of Halloween Forever consisted of 3 worlds and was a bit of a smaller project than the version currently available. In early 2016, the game entered into Steam's Early Access program and fully released on October 25th, just in time for Halloween. While platform games are nothing new, there has been a big interest in modern retroism. That's the idea of creating games with modern technology that feel like older titles, generally from the SNES or Super Nintendo eras. These titles use a pixelated art design as well as chiptune music to help give them a retro vibe. They also mix old school and modern game ideas together. Some titles, such as Onikin, aim to be as close to NES standards and level design as possible, while a game like Shovel Knight wants to recreate the same feeling of those older games while keeping modern practices, such as not limiting players with lives. Halloween Forever leans much closer to Onikin's ideas than it does Shovel Knight's, but it refrains from being anywhere near as brutal. Instead, Halloween Forever is focused on being a short and fun experience than one that requires in-depth mastery. Not to say that the game itself is extremely easy. Understanding the story, on the other hand, rather is. One night, some evil sorcerer heads deep within a pumpkin patch and decides to start causing chaos. Using some kind of ancient spell, they raise the spirits of the dead and make it Halloween, forever. That same ancient spell possesses a jack-o'-lantern, bringing it to life and giving it a body complete with pants. For some reason, this particular pumpkin man doesn't like Halloween, I guess, and sets out to stop the evil sorcerer. You would think he would be A-okay with the whole Halloween never-ending thing, but for the sake of conflict, I guess he's not. Imaginary Monsters did release a short webcomic to go over the plot in a little more detail, saying that the Pumpkin Man is out to become the true King of Halloween by defeating the sorcerer. It doesn't provide much motivation, but this is a 2D retro-inspired platformer we're talking about here. As long as it's more complicated than Save the Princess, I'll give the developer all the credit they deserve. Pumpkin Man himself is a bit of an odd creature. He handles like most platform characters over the years, having your basic walking, jumping, and ducking mechanics, but isn't limited to just that. Right off the bat, Pumpkin Man has a double jump ability to help give him some extra height. Thankfully, double jumping is not in the vein of something like Super Ghouls and Ghosts, where it's the only way to change direction when in the air, as Pumpkin Man can freely move around while airborne. Also, thankfully, Pumpkin Man's main way of defeating enemies is not jumping on people's heads. Instead, he uses projectile vomiting. I'm not quite sure that's better. Pressing the attack button will spew out a wad of sugar and corn syrup. Honestly, I don't know where Pumpkin Man gets all that candy corn from, as he never seems to run out of it and never eats any more of it. It's a good use for the stuff, though, as it's not like people can actually eat candy corn anyway. That stuff's the worst, man. Every enemy is vulnerable to your triangles of sugary death. Well, everything but these Thwomp knockoffs. Halloween Forever has a good mix of enemies to fight against, with everything from bats to frog-spitting frogs. None of the basic enemies are all that complicated, but there is a wide variety of them to help keep most things interesting. I found these chainsaw-wielding maniacs particularly funny as they start running when you get close to them. If you walk up behind them, it looks like they're running away from you, horrified at the thought of a living man made of pumpkin. If you walk in front of them, however, I just recommend not doing that. Some of the more interesting baddies are these spiders, who only move up and down in one location unless you attack them, as well as these frogs who you can completely ignore as long as you don't wake them up. There really is a good mix of enemies that, when combined with the platforming challenges, can make for some tricky areas to navigate. Unfortunately, the game does have some issues with knockback and death pits. Getting hit by an enemy will knock Pumpkin Man around, and Halloween Forever has a bit of a nasty habit of having enemies right next to insta-kill death pits. It gets worse when the game starts throwing these pits into its boss fights. Every level has two bosses, a mid-boss and a final boss, with the final boss being the more difficult of the two. The full release of the game has 5 levels, which equals to 10 overall bosses. About halfway through the game, Halloween Forever starts throwing a lot of knockback attacks at you with a plethora of insta-kill death pits littered around boss arenas. It's especially annoying when fighting the Necromancer, as there's almost nowhere in that arena to get away from his attacks, and dying is rather costly. Halloween Forever uses a live system, giving players 2 lives at the start and hardly any way to get any more. There's no score system or basic collectibles where you collect a certain number to get an extra life. Instead, there are some secret areas you can discover to unlock hidden characters. These areas will change to spawning extra lives after the character connected to that secret has been unlocked. That is the only way to get more lives. At least for now. Imaginary Monsters has mentioned about adding more lives in the future, but honestly, after discovering these secrets, I'm not sure if the game really needs them. Halloween Forever is as much trial and error as it is anything else. It doesn't matter which of the 4 characters you pick to play as, be it Pumpkin Man, Butternut Bro, a Skeleton, or Miss Witch. If the player doesn't know the level they're playing, then they're going to have a difficult time. The game has a bad obsession with leaps of faith drops where you can't see what you're going to land on, and there isn't any way to look down. There are multiple instances where you could land on spikes or in an insta-kill death pit without any means of knowing that it was there, unless you've played that part of the level before. Halloween Forever doesn't introduce its ideas to you in a safe environment before putting you in danger, like the old Mega Man games did. Instead, it expects you to learn from dying. It leads to some parts of the game feeling a bit unfair, but considering how quick you can get through the game without dying, I didn't really find it all that bad. It can be annoying, however, since Halloween Forever doesn't have much in the way of checkpoints. Levels have only 2 checkpoints altogether, one after beating the mid-boss and one right before fighting the final boss of a level. Having to replay the same part of a level multiple times can be frustrating, but lives respawn when a player dies. If you die and can get back to a secret area without dying again, then you can get your previously lost life back and continue on with your pumpkining, butternutting, skeleting, or witchy way. All of the characters play pretty much exactly the same, the only difference being what they use to attack. Pumpkin Man vomits candy corn, of course, while the Butternut Bro chucks exploding butternut squash, and the skeleton spits 2 bones in different directions. The most interesting of the 4 is Miss Witch, who throws pink cats that will run around before going to sleep. They can be difficult to aim with, but she can throw just so many of them. So many cats! It's nuts! Butternuts! Squash! Because all of their controls are the same, they all have the same issues when it comes to using ladders as well as falling through platforms. Some platforms let you fall through them, but it's a bit confusing on how to do it. Halloween Forever's basic control scheme uses A and D to move back and forth, with W for jumping and S for ducking. Going through doors uses the up arrow key, while shooting is put on the left arrow key. It's a bit odd, but all of the controls are rebindable, so nothing's set in stone. In order to fall through a platform, though, you have to first press the duck key, then press the jump key while ducking. It took me a while to figure this out, and nothing in the game tells you how it works either. In order to use a ladder, you have to first jump at it, then press the up arrow key to grab it. Be careful though, you can jump off of a ladder easily, but characters don't automatically grab ladders on their own. Throughout my time with the game, I had a difficult time remembering that the up arrow key went up instead of W. That caused me to jump to my death a lot more often than I'd like to admit. Halloween Forever also has a few collectibles to find in the form of runes hidden throughout each level. They don't do anything on their own, but will unlock the good ending for each character if you have all 6 of them before you beat the game. So far, I've only been able to finish the game as the skeleton character, so it took me a while to see just what the runes were really for. Originally, I thought these were for opening locked doors that are sometimes around in different levels. After speaking with the developer, it seems that the locked doors are stand-ins for future ideas that may or may not be added to the game at some point, and the runes are, in fact, only used for unlocking the good endings. Overall, I really did enjoy my time with the game. I didn't find it to be super difficult while also not being super easy. And while I've only beaten it as one character, I'm confident I can finish it as all 4 of them at some point. Halloween Forever is just a fun little platformer. It doesn't try to be anything more, and it succeeds with pretty much everything it wants to do, give or take a few control issues. The only thing I don't like about the game was its music. I've got nothing wrong with chiptunes, but many of Halloween Forever's tracks are rather highly pitched, repetitive, and obnoxious. The music was done by a composer called BC Likes You and is available on their Bandcamp page if it's something you happen to like. The game itself is $5 US on Steam, and I'd say it's completely worth that. If you're looking for some nice Halloween fun, then give Halloween Forever a shot. Thanks for watching this quick peek at Halloween Forever. Please let me know what you think of the game or this video in the comment section. I've been MegapieMan, and talk to you guys later. For more quick peeks, click on one of the annotations on the screen. The one on the right, I took a look at Eisenhorn Xenos, a third-person action game set in the Warhammer 40k universe. And the one on the left, I took a look at The Room 2, a game about escaping a never-ending realm of puzzle rooms. Thanks again for watching, and have yourself a fantastic day.